Hello, everyone. Here we are for our Worthiness Matters Joy Based Spirituality Workout Series. And my name's Debbie Happy Cohen. I'm the founder of Joy Based Living. And this is the Joy Based Living Building Block Village. Welcome. So we're on day number 15 of 30 right now. And for these 15 days, I've had questions, a list of questions from one of our members, and I'm on question number 15. So from here on out, you can ask other questions, or I'm just going to make some stuff up related to worthiness matters because it's a really important topic. So this last question on this list, and if you want me to review any of these, let me know. If you want me to give a different spin on it, or if you have a different take on it, I'm open to do that as well. This is meant to be a conversation, beginning with our Patreon members who are sincerely engaging their personal development, and then we open the videos to the public at YouTube, if I feel they're good enough to release to the public. I'll say one more thing about that. These are workouts. And, if I was an aerobics instructor or a yoga teacher, I probably have most days pretty good. But then some days I'm just not on my very best top of the world game. And that's okay too. These are meant to be um, evolving thought processes that help us engage important topics and keep them on the forefront of our minds. And so it's meant to be mm, an evolving and expanding experience. So the question for today is, and I want you to feel into your body when I ask this question. The question for today is, how do I know I am losing or have lost my worth? How do I know I'm losing or have lost my worth? First answer off the top of my head is you feel like crap, or you begin to feel like crap, or feeling like crap is part of the situation here. How do I know I'm losing or have lost my worth? So let's come back to our basics, the emotional scale. So if you regularly feel like you're on the bottom of the scale or close to the bottom, if you feel stuck close to the bottom of the scale, stuck meaning you're experiencing that on some kind of ongoing regular basis, powerlessness or shame or depression or hatred, revenge, jealousy. If you're feeling those things on any regular basis, um, you're you're not living from your true worth. Also, if you're feeling empty on the inside or disconnected from your feelings, that's also a sense that disconnection from self is how Gabor Mate defines trauma. And you want to heal that. I don't know how is it that humans know when they're really being themselves or they're really being what other people want them to be. When you're feeling a sense of worth, you feel more at home in your own skin and you're able to go forward toward things that excite you or that you're curious about or things that you want to create in your life. You have a sense of meaning, you have a sense of contribution. You're open to being creative in whatever realm that means for you. For some people it's gardening, for some people it's drawing, for some people it's writing, for some people it's money. I mean, your creativity can show up in so many different ways. And what you want to ask yourself is, do I, on a regular basis, do I feel in the areas of the trifecta, especially because those are the clues to being able to tell how worthy you feel. I'm going to give you a real simple clue, but just notice if you're living in the higher arenas, and are you able to let in the joy? Are you able to let in feelings of acceptance, of courage, of contentment? Are you able to bask there? Because if you're basking there on a regular basis and then occasionally you feel, shame or fear or anger, occasionally meaning could be a couple times a day. It could be depending on what you're experiencing. You might be driving through traffic, and you have a moment of, whatever. Um, worthiness means worthy. You can doesn't mean you can tell that you're feeling worthy because you're asking, how do I know when I'm losing or have lost my worth? When you're not steadily feeling like yourself in a when the river of you is stagnant instead of moving, because you're meant to be a river, not a table, not a pond, not a stagnant piece of water. You're meant to be moving energy all the time. Um, and so the way that you can tell another way that you can tell is you look at the trifecta, which we now have in the form of a ship, but I still don't have, I had planned to print it out like when the month started and it's still not printed out. Anyway, I think I'm having trouble picking out which version I want. I should just do a few. Anyway, so we have healing trauma, spiritual connection, and peak performance. If you look at your sense of worth as a sense of connection in each of these areas. So for healing trauma, the way that you heal trauma is through self connection, because trauma is defined as disconnection from self, right? So you go, okay, what's my level of worthiness here? How connected do I feel to myself in the realm of healing trauma and in the realm of self connection? So if I feel very connected to myself, that's closer to feeling worthy. If I feel very disconnected from myself, that's closer to feeling unworthy. I think that one probably makes a whole lot of sense. Spiritual connection is, how connected do I feel to the larger field of life? Because we're part of the whole universe. We're part of our culture. We're part of the world. We're part of the air that we breathe. The trees breathe out carbon dioxide. We breathe in oxygen. There's an exchange going on all the time with everything. When the moon shifts, and I don't do a whole lot with astrology because I believe people use it too much as a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I don't like that. But when the moon shifts and the tides change, and we're made up of 70 to 90% water, some people say more than that, it shifts how we are on the inside. So I acknowledge connection with the entire universe, not just the physical, but the non-physical as well. Something created me, something created us, some intelligent life force created us, I think. And spiritual connection, or some people say connection with nature, that's fine too. Something connected bigger than you, you're connected with it. If you feel like your connection is really, really strong on a level of 1 to 10, there's a high sense of worthiness that comes with that. Like, oh, I'm connected with something bigger. Yeah, I am. And all kinds of possibilities are available to me through that connection. A lot of people who dance in that realm, I'm going to call it dancing. That sounds a little woo, but that's okay. Really enjoy the communication of serendipities. So, thinking a thought or having a certain particular intention, and then it manifesting in weird and wild ways. It's kind of like communication with something bigger and invisible that has some kind of intelligence. And so it's a mystery, right? So, and if you feel completely disconnected from something larger than you, that's not to say that atheists and agnostics don't feel a sense of self-worth. I would never say that. I have a feeling that when I've had closer conversations with them, the ones who have self-worth in my experience are ones who go, one of them was a scientist. He said to me, I believe that the entire universe is like this big vat of energy, and we each get a ladle full. That works for me. So people who feel very disconnected often feel isolated, alone, and they're kind of left to their own devices. People who I've seen in that realm are usually more cynical, sarcastic, angry, and over relying on their intellect, and not really trusting their feelings. Maybe they lean more into the negative feelings for self protection. Um, and so I see people who are like that as more lonely, and defensive, and that's not really. I don't associate those words with a great sense of self worth. They might be very smart. They might be really contributing, very kind people. So we each have our own path, and part of worthiness is, choosing a path that works for you. So I'm not here to judge. I'm here to just share my experience of how I see the answer to that question. You can answer it for yourself. Trust your own body. Trust your own experience. How do I know I am losing or I've lost my worth? So we're going to look at peak performance. Usually, by the time people are questioning their worthiness, it's because their life sucks somehow. So peak performance, either body or money or time or love or friendship or something is going on the outside that is giving them a signal that their life isn't working. And a lot of times, or their life is imbalanced to a significant degree. And a lot of times, people try to fix the peak performance by losing themselves in activity. And that's why this is a trifecta. It's because we don't want to do that. We don't want any of these to be out of balance. We want all three. So I want your peak performance to be based on self connection, which is authenticity, right? So authenticity with peak performance, with feeling like you're being supported, in wonderful ways by the whole universe. So that's a positive feeling way to go about the world. Now, if you have too much centered on spiritual connection and you're not taking action, which was a more peak performance oriented, peak performance has to do with how do you contribute to others in the world. So this is, how do you connect with yourself, how do you connect with a larger field of life, and this is, how do you connect with others, and are you able to give, and are you able to receive in ways that feel authentic to you. So people who are low on this scale, if you're low on any of these scales, you're going to create an imbalance in the whole thing. So the the tricky part of peak performance is that sometimes people are low on this scale and they make up for it with a lot of hard work and action, and they stress themselves out. I used to be one of those people, even though I always had like a real strong spiritual connection. I used to wear a navy blue suit, and it was very, very, very hyper professional, and I lost myself in the mask of that role. Um, we've talked about makeup before. It's okay to me. It's okay for people to wear makeup. Wear as much makeup as you want. I'm wearing a little hat, a costume, right? It's fun. Um, but it's an expression of what I'm choosing. I'm not locked into it. I used to be locked into the role of coach. So when I moved to the mountains, I was running away from an identity that I felt like had locked me in. And I wanted to free myself from that. So then I wrote a children's book, and then I wrote other children's books, and um, I started wearing overalls, and so then all this started getting created behind me as I became more invested in joy-based living. And so even I have to be careful though to make sure that I'm not always doing joy-based living for other people, that I'm tuned into my own joy and my own authenticity. And that if, for example, if this studio ever made me feel unhappy or I was dissatisfied with it, that I wouldn't keep it up there for the rest of you. I would change it. And so that's important too. And so, you don't want peak performance to become performing. You don't want it to be a performance. You want it to come from authentic self expression. I just didn't know another way to put it. Uh, I didn't know another phrase. I haven't come up with a better phrase than peak performance, because you can identify external indicators to see how your life is moving along within the context of the rest of the culture, the rest of the world. Um, I'll start closing with this. The reason we practice the 12 practices ebook is because we want to experience honor, commitment, and loyalty to ourselves in all of these areas. Now, this wasn't around when I wrote the 12 practices, but um, you can now apply the 12 practices to each one of these. And that will get you more centered and grounded in yourself. And here, I'll show you both of these at the same time. Worthiness is feeling pretty high on the emotional scale in each one of these areas on a regular basis. Woo! How's that? Worthiness matters. Worthiness is being medium to high on the emotional scale on a regular basis. So from contentment up to joy on a regular basis. So not always, this isn't black and white. On a regular basis in the areas of self connection, spiritual connection, and connection with others. And so, boom, Thank you for being here with me today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now. Your worthiness matters. Woo!